things are not looking great for the Jets. We knew that whenever Zach Wilson took over. And it's not just his poor play. I just don't think the team around him respects him.
No.
They're not going to say that. Robert Saleh is certainly taking his back, saying he's the quarterback moving forward. But everyone knows what happened last year. And Wilson has done, I guess, what he can in order to help out that perception and that vibe behind the scenes. He held the players' meeting prior to his first full start where he tried to clear the air and say, I want to be better. This is me trying to take a leadership role. And I think he's trying to do that. But when you pair that with the extreme high of going into a season with Aaron Rodgers and then 4 snaps in, the free fall into going back to who you were placed a year ago with ownership saying we're a veteran quarterback away. We're a superstar quarterback away from making the Super Bowl run. True Super Bowl expectations. A Super Bowl caliber defense. And they know that what happened last year, they're in store for again this year based on the circumstances. So much so, even Joe Namath has seen enough.
I wouldn't keep him. I've seen enough of Zach Wilson. All right? I've seen enough. Has quick feet, can throw a little bit, but I don't believe what's going on up there. How can a coach say the locker room's together? How many teams have we been on? Are you telling me there aren't some cats on the defensive side saying, whoa, man, what's wrong with you? Yeah, there's not all harmony in the locker room. And if there is, they need to get rid of the people. You got to get people in there that are competitors and want to fight to win. These guys don't have to be in love with each other. And if they're saying they're in love with each other, they're BSing you. And you got to get rid of them, top to bottom.
They're just trying. They're saying all the right things. Namath is referencing, they're saying all the. And they're in love with each other and everything's cool.
Yeah, they're saying how there's unity.
They're trying to handle it as best they can. I mean, the problem is what happened last year is happening again. They give up 15 points and they lose 15-10 New England.
That's the best soundbite from Joe Namath since he talked to Susie Colbert, by the way. That was terrific. I like Robert Saleh. Watched every second of Hard Knocks, and I feel like you get to know him a little bit better. I like the way he addresses the team. Seems like a very smart guy. Here's the question I would have for Zach Wilson. Do you want to do this? Do you have the confidence it takes to want to go out there Sunday after Sunday and face down a defense that's coming at you and try to win games in the National Football League? Hutton, I watch a guy in Zach Wilson, and I see him falling like a little house of cards when the rush gets around him without anybody touching him. And I see a frightened little boy. I don't know that the guy wants to be a quarterback right now. And I'm not saying this to demean or belittle Zach Wilson. Whatever he's going through psychologically and what he's talked about, losing confidence and everything else, I think he has this way of putting on this bluster of confidence. He did it on Hard Knocks around other quarterbacks and around the team. And I look in his eyes on game day and I see him fall down without getting touched. And what I see is a kid scared to death. I don't know that he wants this. And if Robert Saleh is going to continue acting like, we want this for him, we want this for our team, he is the man, he is the guy, he gives us the best chance. Have you truly looked your quarterback in the eyes and asked him what he wants? And if he gives you an answer that is, yes, I want to be quarterback, do you really believe him right now? I don't see someone who wants to do it. I don't know how they continue right now. Well, I was fooled into believing, hey, Aaron Rodgers is there. Maybe some of that rubbed off on him. He did apologize to his team for that stupid comment he made about the defense and should the offense be upset about their performance a year ago. Maybe he's worked hard to be a better teammate. And you know what? Guys can just improve, and guys can get their confidence back. I'm not seeing that from Zach Wilson. Yeah. And I think someone needs to honestly ask the guy, is this what you want? Do you want to start for the New York Jets right now at quarterback?
Well, the Jets don't want him to start for the New York Jets at quarterback. That's evident based on them benching their number 2 overall pick in early December of last year, and then moving on, but not truly moving on, because Robert Saleh has been consistent with
the problem.
With what he's even saying this year. The solution, the plan in place was working. You're more or less rehabbing Wilson within your own locker room by having him the backup and the best friend of Aaron Rodgers throughout the entire offseason, where everything's going great. Everything behind the scenes is Super Bowl or bust, but they're handling it in a way where they're embracing it. You know, they're not afraid of accepting those type of expectations. That's what comes whenever you have Rodgers come out of a darkness retreat and miraculously see the Jets green. But what Saleh said in February and March and right after the season was, hey, no, we're not done with him. We believe there is a lot there as to why he's here for this organization. We've got it was he's going to be a part of this. And then you have ownership saying, we need the veteran. The plan was in place. The plan moving forward this year continues to be what Saleh was saying then, because he's doubled back on and doubling down on the fact that this is Zach Wilson's offense.
Robert, do you guys plan to add another quarterback here in the coming days? And if so, what caliber of quarterback are you looking to add, and what will his role be?
Yeah, we are going to look through some things, but I do want to make it very clear, Zach's our quarterback. We got a lot of faith in Zach. We're really excited about his opportunity, but we're rolling with Zach and excited for this, excited for him, and like I said, this opportunity that he's going to get.
Yeah, and look, he said we're going to look through some things before that. I take that as they're going to look into it, and he's going to be the quarterback until the next guy can come along. At least I'd hope that for the Jets. When they made the move for Aaron Rodgers, going back to your point, Hutton, on they don't believe in him. In fact, they brought in Aaron Rodgers and benched him for that reason, the Jets organization. I did not sense anger from Zach Wilson about that move by the Jets. I sense relief. I think this guy has been so bad and has made a couple of missteps and has been just berated by everyone in the media there and the fans to the point that I seriously doubt his desire to play right now.
But his comments right after about the veteran comment, before it was Rodgers, his comments were, my plan is to make that veteran that comes in his life hell. Because that was kind of the tongue-in-cheek joke by Rodgers the first day of camp. He's making my life hell. Well, turns out that Wilson, growing up, his favorite player of all time is Aaron Rodgers. So the pairing actually made a ton of sense. He's not going to hate the fact that he's backing up a future Hall of Famer. And if it actually brings his career along to where he's next in line, or it gives him some type of boost to where he goes to a new franchise with a contract expiring and he has a fresh start, great. This is the worst thing that could happen to him, is that Rodgers actually gets hurt and he's the guy moving forward.
I don't believe him. I don't believe Zach Wilson. What have I said about countless people in sports? You are believable,
and that's the problem with the locker room.
And what you're
saying.
They
don't trust him.
Or you're not. And when he says lines like that, that sounds like something he thought of 30 minutes before the press conference and thought it was a funny line to use and said it. But when he says that, I don't believe him. That is why Robert Saleh, who to me strikes me as a man who's good at reading people and good at understanding what his team needs based on my limited viewing of him in the locker room in front of his team in a meeting room. Someone needs to sit this kid down and find out if you believe him or not, if he really wants to be the starting quarterback. I don't know. Look, this is pro sports. I'm not saying, let's go start a campfire and hold hands around it and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I see a broken QB in Zach Wilson. And that play where he falls to the ground when he's not being touched, and Joe Namath brought that up as well, he looks like he's broken psychologically. Ask him if he really wants to do this and where his head state is right now, because I don't think it's good.
Well,
look, from a play standpoint, they need to look around and find anyone else than Zach Wilson right now. But they need to find out if he wants to do this.
But if you're a veteran on the market right now, other than just collecting a paycheck, why would you go and become the Sean Payton of quarterbacks for the New York Jets this year? And here's what I mean. You sign there, and all of a sudden you're just going to know the offense and be able to click in. And, oh, by the way, your offensive coordinator is Nathaniel Hackett. and you know you're not there long term. It's not like Carson Wentz signs off the street and he earns a job next year quarterbacking the New York Jets. He's set up a lot. Any veteran right now that's available is set up in a very similar situation to Wilson, where if you're backing up Aaron Rodgers, that's one thing. No one talked a lot of trash about Jordan Love not starting for 3 years. It wasn't because, he's a first-round pick that needed time to develop. It was because he's backing up the back-to-back MVP that wouldn't leave because he didn't need to, and the Packers didn't want him to, because all of a sudden he was a Super Bowl caliber. He made their offense Super Bowl caliber. But allowing a quarterback to develop behind the scenes is actually working out pretty well for Green Bay. It's worked out for Green Bay now twice. And maybe Wilson needed that. It's the worst possible situation for him, too. And any quarterback that wants to sign there. And, oh, by the way, really bad for Hackett as well, because Rodgers was going to make him look great, too, especially in Week 5 against Denver. And now who knows? Because he's working with Zach Wilson, who, again, like you're saying, the locker room doesn't trust. That Namath is all of a sudden, after being on the sidelines for Week 1 for, the Pharaoh to arrive onto MetLife Stadium.
Feeding him grapes.
Running out feed him grapes and then let him run out on the field with the flag. 4 snaps later, he's done. And everyone's bummed. And now they're coming to the realization that it's Zach Wilson again, and that seems like it's going to be. But it's not like they wouldn't go grab another QB with a Super Bowl caliber roster minus the quarterback if they could. The problem is those dudes aren't on the street. Carson Wentz is not that guy. And if you trade for someone, you've got to get them up to speed fast. And even the teams that suck right now may not want to part ways with their quarterback, because while they suck, like the Vikings, they've lost 3 games by combined 13 points. They still see light at the end of the tunnel based on the division that they're playing and this upcoming schedule. That's all that really this comes down to. Can the Jets, in time, make a move before they're not relevant in their own division with the Bills and with what the Dolphins are doing?
Well, Vinny Testaverde is only 59. Maybe he can, Jets great. Maybe he can learn the system quickly if they brought him back in. Look, I think it's
October.
This is headed towards a wash of a season for the Jets. The good news for the Jets is Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson and Quinnen Williams and some of these guys that are the backbone of their team that are very, very good are still young. And as long as they don't suffer a debilitating injury this year, they will be back next year with Aaron Rodgers.
But yes, next year. But so, you know what also sucks?
This is a wash of a year. That's what it's headed for.
You have the future. Again, you mentioned health. We always hate saying depends on if a player gets hurt. Of course it does. That goes without saying. But you have a wide receiver and a corner that are going to demand the top money at the position moving forward. And you've got them on their rookie contract before you can extend them. And this is a wasted year for them.
Yeah.
That's what sucks for the organization, is you have them at the top of their game when it matters with the quarterback that can make you a true contender. And now you're just waiting again like you felt like you were waiting with a very talented defense a year ago.
It sucks, but there's nothing else they can do now. The hope is, maybe Zach Wilson's not a head case.
Yeah.
When he gets in there, maybe he's improved, and he hasn't. So I don't know. I feel bad for the Jets because they rightfully, in my opinion, put all their eggs in Aaron Rodgers' basket.
Yeah.
And when
they did
that
everything
happened,
they could.
In the first quarter of the first
game,
game, I mean, the reality is it's a wash of a season. And yet, you're right. At the year 2 of these great second-year players, their rookie contract is a complete wash. But the one glimmer of hope and good news is we all think Aaron Rodgers will be back next year, and those guys will still be on the roster.
Right.
What's one more year? It's been since 1968 that you've won a Super Bowl. What's one more year if you're a Jets fan?
Well, Joe Namath, not a fan of Zach Wilson in relief of what was supposed to be a Super Bowl or bust season for the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, saying that they need to move on, that Robert Saleh had enough of Robert Saleh based on his backing of Zach Wilson. And, well, Rodgers goes on with Pat McAfee on the Pat McAfee show and discusses what Namath said, but doesn't necessarily name him directly. He says, quote, and this is from Namath originally, "Send him to Kansas City to back up against somebody like Mahomes and maybe learn something. I wouldn't keep him. I've seen enough of Zach Wilson, all right? I've seen enough. Quick feet, he can throw a little bit, but I don't believe he's got what's going on up there. And then Rodgers on McAfee referred to a positive outlook, as you might expect, saying how much he wishes he was still there around the team. And he says, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for our boys. I'd like to see everyone stick together, our fan base, our former players, our current players, because there's too much negativity and the world is crashing down after 3 weeks. It's a long season, a lot of time, a lot of things can happen. Let's support our guys. Let's support the boys on the field. Stick with our guys and have a little belief. Yeah. That from Aaron Rodgers.
Boy, let me tell you, 80-plus-year-old sports figures are really having a moment right now, riling people up. You had Lee Corso and Lou Holtz last week get responses from Jake Dickert, head coach at Washington State, and, of course, Ryan Day going scorched earth himself on NBC after the game, saying, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. Now you got Aaron Rodgers all riled up about something 80-year-old Joe Namath is saying about his former team and his quarterback. I understand what Aaron Rodgers is saying. The biggest concern I would have was that first part of this. When your running back is going after your running backs coach on television on the sideline, ready to choke him out, and you got guys bickering back and forth, that is a problem that I believe Aaron Rodgers could correct if he was the quarterback. You're not going to have a correction with that when Zach Wilson is your quarterback. And that's the issue that Joe Namath is talking about. I've seen enough of him to know that he's not the guy. Not only is he not the guy of the future, he can't do anything in the present, and he's a poor leader. What Joe Namath is saying isn't wrong. I understand Aaron Rodgers saying, if you really care about the Jets and you are an influential figure like a Joe Namath when he's talking about former players, let's hold our water a bit here. Let's not jump off the Brooklyn Bridge 3 games into the season at 1-2. Let's hold it together. Let's be better competitors about it, and let's not start freaking out. I get it. I understand what he's saying. I just think we're all getting a little bit too riled up over the opinions of 80-plus-year-olds and having to go back and forth about it.
Well, it's Namath is echoing the opinion of many, including the locker room from last year. I mean, and it's different with Rodgers laying down, rehabbing the Achilles injury and discussing that on the Pat McAfee show than it is being in the locker room in Green Bay, and he goes RELAX, with a poor start to the season. It's different because he's not the quarterback leading them out of that black hole, out of the darkness, and onto the field and wearing green for the Jets. And that's the difference in the locker room, and that's why you have a lack of poise right now within the Jets from the player to the coach on the heated conversation on the sideline, and just the lack of faith and belief, really, in their backup quarterback turned starter again, Zach Wilson. And then Rodgers acknowledged, Chad, as you mentioned, the heated exchange. I've seen those conversations, he says. I think we need to hold our poise a little bit better, really just offensively. We need to not have some of those things happen on the sideline and be a little bit better and be a little bit better competitors.
Well, and, I would say act like you've been there before and you face some adversity and you know how to overcome it, but the Jets really haven't been there before. They haven't been the focal point of a league. They haven't been a team with enormous expectations. At least the guys on this Jets roster haven't been there. Aaron Rodgers has been there. If he was leading this team, he could, as you said, Hutton, do the RELAX, relax speech and calm people down just with his presence, but he's hurt. He's out for the season. So when Aaron Rodgers says, I don't know that we'd be 3-0 right now, but maybe if I was, yeah, of course. But he's not there. So let's have a little bit of grace, I think, is also the message here from Aaron Rodgers. But that grace has to also start from within. Let's show each other a little bit of grace and hold it together more offensively and stop freaking out at every turn. But this is who the Jets are. You can't say act like you've been there before and go about your business and go win some games. They don't really know how to do that. They went and got Aaron Rodgers to teach them how to do that. Robert Saleh doesn't know how to do that as a head coach either. He hasn't done it yet. So there probably does need to be a little bit of grace shown from that Jets fan base and former players like Joe Namath. But I'm also not going to sit here and railroad an 80-year-old man who's given his honest opinion on a quarterback position he knows a hell of a lot about. and probably a hell of a lot more than I know about the quarterback position given his history. So if he's got an opinion about Zach Wilson, he's asked about it, who am I to tell an 80-year-old man not to voice his opinion about it? He can say whatever the heck he wants. And what he's saying is exactly what everyone knows that watches Zach Wilson. He sucks. He sucks right now. He hasn't improved. I thought he could improve. I bought it. They win the first game, and I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, Zach Wilson has improved with Aaron Rodgers around him. But, Hutton, that does not look to be the case right now.
Well, I think he
through
can
these 3 games.
improve, but it goes back to my point yesterday. You don't improve after 4 snaps of being the backup. You can't rehab that process of what needs to take place behind the scenes in week 1 in the middle of the first quarter. It doesn't go down like that. And maybe he could do that with a fresh start somewhere else, but he's not going to do that somewhere else this season because Robert Saleh is dead set on Wilson being the guy. Tim Boyle's the backup. They've signed Trevor Siemian to the practice squad now, and they're moving forward with that 3-pack going into the heart of their schedule now as division play really ramps up for all teams across the league. For all of the discussion and attention on the Jets, imagine if Colin Kaepernick was there on the practice squad. He wrote a letter to Joe Douglas explaining why he would be great to be considered for the practice squad spot on the Jets roster, saying that he agrees with why they're backing Zach Wilson, but if anything were to happen, he's ready to go. He could be on the practice squad, and they end up signing Trevor Siemian, one of their former QBs, who lost out in Cincinnati to Reed Stinnett. Didn't sign on the practice squad in Cincy. Instead, signs with the New York Jets. And you look at the stats for Siemian, they're not great. But you think there's a coincidence while Kaepernick wants to be on the Jets practice squad when he's not writing letters that we know about through friends that are putting this out there with his permission to Dallas, Philadelphia, or Atlanta? Those are just the 3. I'm sure there are others that don't currently have a quarterback on their practice squad. He's not asking to be on their rosters. He's wanting to be on New York with the Jets because of the brand, not because of the ball.
Hutton, I can't be the only one that's rooting for this to happen. I think this would be amazing theater in a city known for its theater.
Well, it would be amazing theater, but also just a soap opera.
Absolutely.
But for no reason.
But they already are a soap opera. And look,
Colin Kaepernick, the soap opera, though, was about winning, and now it's just everyone knows who they are without Rodgers.
It's not going to happen. All right, let's end it right there. It's not going to happen because he hasn't played in forever. And,
7 years.
And there's got to be better options, available. If you're looking for someone on the street, there's Carson Wentz is a better option, as an example right now, if you wanted to go with someone off the street. I'm just saying, as someone who loves entertainment, the idea of Colin Kaepernick coming to the Jets' rescue and him trying to be the answer for that organization right now in New York with all eyes on him, the coverage of that would be a spectacle to behold. And the response from America on either side would be so over the top on both sides. I mean, at some point you just kind of want to watch Rome burn, and the everything would burn if this happened. And I'm rooting for it, quite frankly. Let's burn it all down.
You're not going to have to have Kaepernick there to watch Rome burn if you're thinking of it from the perspective of Saleh and Douglas.
It's not as much fun to watch Zach Wilson flail around and fail out there on the field. I want more drama out there.
Why not Philadelphia, Atlanta, or Dallas if you're Kaepernick? If he's willing to be on a practice squad, why not the practice squads that currently don't carry a quarterback?
I thought this would be an open invitation to join any practice squad. Only the Jets.
He wrote a letter to Douglas.
Yeah.
Directly to the Jets. Joe, hope this letter finds you in great spirits, is how he opened the letter.
I hope he responds to that letter, unlike Brian Kelly, who wouldn't respond to
I'm
Lou
wishing
Holtz.
you, your staff, and the players a great game this weekend as you look to bounce back. I'm writing, of course, in response to the unfortunate loss of Aaron Rodgers. And then he goes into details of...
Dear Colin,
if I were to...
I received your correspondence, and I will respond on the morrow.
What if we had Captain Andrew Luck respond to it?
Yeah, well, guy was a good player back in, 2014, 2015? It's been a long time, Jonathan. I don't know if I could do it. He could join the book club, though. He's very well read, is what I understand. And he's even written a children's book. I may have to cover it in the next book club podcast.
He's not reading those books.
Yeah.
This would allow you guys to, as an organization, to take a real look at where I'm at in football-wise, at games-like situations against an elite defense, while also not putting any competitive pressure on Zach.
It's great. Bring it on. You know, sometimes you got to roll the dice, Joe Douglas. You know that as well as anyone. Bring on Colin Kaepernick. But what else could the Jets have right now? What other controversy can we create with this New York Jets team? Bring it all on. You know, let's trial by fire. Let's just face everything all at once, get it out of the way, cleanse our souls of all bad things, and start anew next year with Aaron Rodgers. This should be the goal.